So when I'm working with members, especially when it comes to new members who are trying to repair their relationship, oftentimes divorce papers have already been drawn up or laid out, and there can be a bit of a struggle as to how to repair a relationship going through a divorce. They can seem like opposite things happening, right? You can't repair a relationship when a divorce is already going through, but that isn't the case. So in this video, I'm going to break down how to save your relationship whilst going through a divorce. So I want to start off by saying that this is not legal advice. What you do legally throughout divorce proceedings is totally up to you. And everything that I'm talking about here is not legal advice. This is relationship advice. This also leads on to sort of understanding the situation as it is. When it comes to marriage and relationships, they are two separate things. Marriage is a legal joining of two people, but you can have a relationship without a marriage. So I get the initial gut feeling of, why am I trying to repair this relationship when there are divorce proceedings going through, when I've got divorce papers on my desk or they've been filed, etc. But understanding the difference between the two is going to be crucial. If you think about it this way, you did not start the relationship with a marriage. Oftentimes, you don't start a relationship with a marriage. There are some cultures that do that, but for a lot of cultures, especially in the West, in the United States, which is where I'm based, or the UK, most relationships start first, and then marriage comes as a result of developing that relationship to the next stage. So I can understand the initial worry that these two things are completely at odds. But this brings me on to my first point. If a divorce is going through and you're trying to still save the relationship, understand that you are not truly at odds with your partner. What's happening during the divorce is you're navigating two different independent people's needs. So it can feel like you're at war, but in most cases, you're actually not enemies. You're two people trying to regain some of that independence whilst letting go of the label of marriage. There are a few things to know whilst going through a divorce and trying to save a relationship. The first is to understand that different perspectives does not equal opposition. So as of right now, it may seem like you ultimately want different outcomes or expressing your emotions in different ways. But this doesn't mean that one of you is against the other one. Ultimately, you are not fighting each other. You're both looking for safety, for clarity, for healing, but just in maybe different ways. But underneath that, you actually do share common goals, even if you have forgotten about this. You both want peace. You both want to be heard and to be respected. You both want to move forward. These are actually aligned values, even if the paths look differently right now. The next thing to understand is that you are co-creating a transition. This is just an ending. A lot of people see this as the end of a relationship, but it's not. This is a restructuring of the relationship. What is needed right now is not this label of marriage. What is needed right now is to restructure and figure out a new way because the old way wasn't working. So this is still a relationship, but it is a restructuring. And getting out of this adversarial mindset is crucial because this battle head-to-head mindset makes it harder. You're not splitting up because you failed at a relationship. During a divorce, you're actually working together to reshape how you are going to relate going forward. And it's really important to understand that conflict is feedback. It's not failure. So emotionally, especially, if you are triggered, it's not a sign that you are doomed as a relationship. It's a signal to start looking inward. Often, what we think of as being at odds with each other is really about unprocessed grief, fear, or our ego defense. So it's important when going through this process to start looking at each interaction with more curiosity, not judgment, not defense, and not simply just prioritizing your needs over your partner's. This is not one winner, one loser. This is a situation where you're both restructuring. Just as marriage restructures a relationship into something different, A divorce restructures a relationship into something different again. And I have worked with members who have gone through a marriage. That marriage has gone through a divorce, and then that divorce has turned back into a new version of the relationship. And that relationship has turned into a remarriage. So all of these states are temporary. They are not permanent. A marriage is not permanent because you weren't always married. The dating stage is not permanent because you weren't always dating and you change into a marriage state. All of these states are temporary and they serve the purpose that is needed at the time. So if you're trying to repair a relationship, this is not simply about getting things back to the way that they were. This is restructuring the relationship to make it work long term. And if that is the divorce state in the meantime, then that's what that is. Ultimately, despite the fact that it may feel like you are against each other, you're actually on the same side of the table. You're solving a problem together. You're not attacking each other. Once you start to shift away from we're at odds to we are in this transition, you can start to create space for mutual respect, even if emotions are still high. And this, building this space, cultivating this space, is where trust starts to get rebuilt, transparency starts to grow, and peace and healing can be cultivated, thus repairing the underlying relationship. And this brings me on to the most crucial point, which is the difference between saving the relationship versus saving the marriage. So saving the marriage is saving this structure. This is keeping the formal commitment, the shared home, the legal label of being married. Oftentimes, focusing on saving a marriage is motivated by a fear of loss, of family pressure, fear of failure, or financial logistical struggles. That is what often when people try to save the marriage, it's about logic. Whereas saving the relationship, repairing and rebuilding and regrowing it back is about preserving the connection and the respect. The focus is honoring the emotions that you both have, the shared history and the core values, even if the structure of it changes. And this is where you start to focus on the important things, the emotional side of things. You start to ask questions about how do we treat each other with care, even if this relationship changes form? How can we co-create a respectful relationship or develop a new kind of connection? So this is about forward thinking, not trying to preserve a label that is based in the past. And you can start to ask what needs healing between us regardless of the outcome. This is the switch from outcome-based to process-based. If you think about it this way, relationships are systems. They are the way that we interact with each other. These systems produce outcomes. When you're in a relationship and you focus on building that relationship, you end up stronger, your finances grow, you develop a family. All of these things come from a strong relationship. Marriage is an outcome of a strong relationship. So when that relationship isn't working, that's where the marriage label starts to go away. So the difference between saving a relationship and saving a marriage is about focusing on the system of a relationship rather than the outcome. Focusing on how to build a healthy, emotionally strong relationship rather than simply looking for the label of marriage. And that's the difference. And this is the motivation. The motivation is about emotional integrity, about personal growth, a desire for peace, healthy co-parenting as an example. So the crucial thing to know is that marriage does not equal a relationship. A marriage is the outcome of a relationship. The relationship is the process. If a business is run poorly, then it loses money, staff, and customers. If a relationship is run poorly, then it loses emotional safety, intellectual intimacy, and goal synergy. These are the fundamentals of a healthy relationship. So that's why focusing back onto the process of building that relationship rather than the outcome, which is the marriage, is going to be crucial. And especially if you're wanting to co-parent moving forward, if you're wanting to rebuild and repair the underlying relationship to ultimately reconcile, then what needs to be focused on is the process. And this is what so many members have found, is that by shifting their focus away from just trying to stop this divorce from happening and actually focusing on what is important, which is the relationship itself, the process of working together towards the shared goals that you have, it becomes very, very different. And this is why so many of my members have such success, is because once they shift their thinking and they shift their processes to what's important, what's crucial, and what is effective in repairing a relationship, then it becomes less about just trying to get this marriage label back and onto what is important for both of you to move forward in the relationship. And if you do want to join us, then join my relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same steps and tools that every member of mine starts with to start repairing, rebuilding, and regrowing your relationship. It has a lot of details, especially about emotional safety, intellectual intimacy, and goal synergy, which are the three main core elements of every healthy relationship. So to join that bootcamp, all you have to do is click on the link in the description to grab your spot. But understanding these systems, the processes of a relationship, is going to be crucial in order to rebuild any relationship. So even if you choose to walk away from this relationship right now and into another one, you still need to learn those skills and tools in order to build any relationship. All relationships function on the same skills, the same processes to build trust, respect, and mutuality throughout their lifetime. And learning how these skills interact in the systems thinking is going to be crucial. I've actually done a deeper dive into it, which I'll link to on the screen. Learning how to think in systems rather than outcomes is going to help you to develop a healthy relationship that not only works for your partner, but works for you as well. Being able to synchronize these together is going to help you to build a healthy relationship, which is the most important thing. So I'm going to leave you with that deep dive video, and I will see you over there.